Good late morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know people are going to be trickling in, but we want to be thoughtful about time. My name is Anna Lanasas Selvage, and I'll be. Oh, you can't. Okay. Try to get this closer to me, or maybe speak louder. I don't know. My name is Anna Lanasas Selvage, and I'm with the Washington State Bar Association. I'll be facilitating, but also sharing and presenting on what we're doing at the State Bar. And to my right, I have Michelle West, who's from Georgia State Bar, and I have Megan Sharon, who's over at Campbell Law School. So we're going to start, though, by going ahead and talking with Michelle a little bit about the program that they're running in Georgia.
Hi, again, my name is Michelle West. I'm the director for the Transition into Law Practice program at the State Bar of Georgia. And that's a lot of words, you guys, but it would have taken me an act of Congress to get it changed. So we just call it TILP, right? So TILP is what I'm going to say from here on out. So I'm the director for TILP, and the program is, we're celebrating our 12th year this year. It started out with pilots. The original pilot was in 2005, but the program was a long time in the making. It's the mandatory continuing legal education and mentoring program for Georgia. And basically the goal for our program is the goal for so many others, and it's just basically providing access to experienced lawyers, teaching ethics, professionalism, skills, and practice tips. The program is, since it's a mentoring and a CLE, basically they have to satisfy both of the components in order to exit the program. It happens within their first year, and it typically takes about a year to go through the program. They should exit, sometimes they don't, but they should exit the December of the year following the year they were admitted. So it's the same CLE deadline and mentoring deadline. In addition to doing their CLE, they have to get 12 CLE each year, and this is the same for all lawyers in Georgia. But one of the things that's different about the TILPS program is that they also have to do a 6-credit beginning lawyers program, and that's required for all new lawyers, unless you were a part of the Georgia Prosecuting Council or the Georgia Public Defender Standards Council. And basically we have worked with them in order for them to have a mentoring program that's approved by the State Bar. And then the other component of it, as I said, it was CLE, it's mentoring. And there are 3 types of mentoring. There's inside mentoring, and I've passed out some pamphlets that kind of describes all of the mentoring types that we have. We have inside mentoring for lawyers who are part of a firm or a legal organization. And then there's outside mentoring for lawyers who are in solo practice and who are seeking a one-on-one mentor. And then we have group mentoring. And then that's where you are mentored in a group. What we're finding now is that more lawyers are signing up for group mentoring, and they want less one-on-one mentoring. So we have now started to bolster our group mentoring program because we're seeing more lawyers choose that category. Our mentors are Supreme Court appointed. So our mentors have to have practiced for 5 years or more. They have to have malpractice insurance, and they can't have any discipline. So basically that's very difficult sometimes because that changes all the time. So you're trying to appoint them, and during the process of you sending the nomination to the Supreme Court and getting the appointment, something could possibly change. So trying to kind of miss that thing that could be a really big problem is sometimes hard, but we tend to, we're able to get past that. And all of our mentors are able to take a complimentary 3-hour CLE during the time that they're mentoring.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Sharon. I am the Assistant Dean of External Relations at Campbell Law School, and we are located in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. Our program is called Campbell Law Connections, and it was really a creation between us and our local bar in Wake County, which is where we're located. And this program really came about after this conference. I think the first one in 2008, we had our associate dean at the time, as well as some representatives from Wake County here. And they really liked the idea of mentorship and what that could do, because at that period of time, as you all know, I mean, we were seeing a lot of people come out of law school and they were opening up their own practices, or they were going into smaller firms where mentorship was really not readily available. So we wanted to provide the opportunity for not only our students, but also new attorneys in the area to have opportunities to be mentored. So really our program was sort of, we call it formalizing the informal mentorship relationship. You know, take all the great things about informal mentoring, you know, that one-on-one interaction where someone is seeking out either the mentee or the mentor is seeking the mentee, and take those opportunities to formalize that in a way to provide access for people that wouldn't necessarily seek mentorship out on their own or have that opportunity to do that. So we really focus on professionalism in our mentorship program, but that is just one of many things that we focus on. We want to give people the opportunity to have practical experience, to know what it's like to be an attorney when they get out, and really also develop relationship skills. I think it was really interesting to hear the previous panel talk about knowing how to have mentorship relationships, and that is a big part of what we do in teaching them how to do those really well. We also want them to have just general relationship skills. You know, we're seeing a lot of the younger generation, and they don't know how to communicate well face to face. So teaching them how to do that, how to interact with other attorneys, how to network, how to have relationship skills so that they can successfully manage client issues. So a lot of different things that are coming out in this program. It is open to Campbell Law third-year students, but it's also open to new attorneys in our area in Wake County. They can be 3 years or less of practice, and they can sign up. They don't have to be associated with Campbell, so there's not that requirement for them. We pair our students and new attorneys, the protégés, up with practicing attorneys that have 5 years or more experience, kind of the same requirements as Georgia. No disciplinary actions, and they have to have malpractice insurance. And we encourage them to do any number of activities. We give them a guidebook and resources on what to do, but we really let them decide what it is that they're going to do throughout that mentorship year. And one of the things that we try to pair people up based on practice area interest, but also work environment. So if we have someone that they know they're going to open up their own practice and they're going to, be a solo practitioner, we want them to be paired with someone that has done that. So giving them that opportunity to share similar backgrounds kind of creates that natural connection to begin with and then allows them to grow.
Great, thank you. So I'll talk a little bit about what mentorship in Washington looks like. We're a very different type of program. And there's two components that I'll talk about. One is what our mandatory continuing legal education board, which is a Supreme Court board, does. And then the second is what I'll mainly be talking about, which is what we're doing at the State Bar, which is the program that I run. So the MCLE board has offered, I think this is in the last 2 years, they have changed their accreditation to offer mentorship for CLE purposes. And the way it's done is, while we've defined what a mentor is, which is in your first, you have to have practice for more than 5 years, we don't have a narrow definition of what a mentee is. The mentee is that you have to be an active member of the bar. So the idea or the philosophy around that is because our members make transitions in their life. They may be practicing in one area, and then in the next 10 years, they decide, I don't want to do family law anymore, I want to do estate planning. That means they're a mentee to that practice area. So if somebody at 10 years makes a transition from one career path to the next, they can find a mentor, and both the mentor and the mentee can get credit for every hour that they meet. And they can do it in 2 ways. One is they can go through an accredited program through the MCLE board that the board has approved, and they follow a structured curriculum. And the second is that they can go through the MCLE board's self-structured process. So if I go to Michelle and I say, Michelle, I really want you to be my mentor, her and I can go through that self-structured process. There's a plan. We go through the plan, and then we get credit that way. But the program that I run is through the State Bar Association, and it has a couple different components. And really, we're only 3 years old. We're still a relatively new program. And our focus, our kind of goal is we're looking at new lawyers, we're looking at solo, small firm practitioners, historically underrepresented lawyers, and lawyers that are looking to make a transition in their practice. And we believe that they face unique barriers to delivering legal services to the public. These barriers could include underdeveloped skills, limited knowledge in that practice area, lack of community or connection, or really systemic and institutional practices that are barriers. And with that kind of theory of this is our audience, this is primarily who we're going to be serving, we design programming, mentorship programming, that provides online resources, builds community, provides education, promotes external mentorship opportunities. And we do that in 2 ways. One is we play the role of the connector. And we do that in 3 ways. The first is we have a lot of really great mentorship opportunities across our state. Our local specialty minority bar associations have mentorship opportunities. Some are accredited through MCLE to offer the structured mentorship program. And really what we see ourselves is at the very foundation, we see ourselves as a clearinghouse of promoting those opportunities. And the second role is a second opportunity for members to connect and find each other is we utilize ALPS, which is our preferred malpractice provider. They have an attorney match. And think about it like Match.com. You can go in, you can create your profile, and it's not just for mentorship. It is for folks who are looking to make a practice transition and sell or acquire a practice. So you can go in, create your profile, and connect with somebody that you're interested with. And then the third, which is really our Mentor Link Mixers, and these are actual structured programs that we design. Last year we did 5 of these mixers. This year we're doing 8. And the way they are structured and designed is they're lunchtime events, so we offer lunch. We recruit mentors, and those mentors sit at a table. We have about 2 mentors per table and 4 to 5 mentees per table. And they're highly structured coaching opportunities, table coaching opportunities. We focus on a very narrow audience with a very specific theme. So for example, we recently did one on transitioning into solo practice. So we got mentors who had transitioned into solo practice. We had conversation starter questions that we developed. And then the mentees came in, they met with those mentors, and about halfway through, they got up and swapped and met with other mentors. So almost a little, not like speed mentoring, but to some extent, something like that. The next one that we're gonna have is gonna be at the end of this month, and it's gonna be on diversity and inclusion through the lens of leadership. They've been pretty popular. We have about, I would say, 40 to 50 people that actually show up and about 60 to 70 people that register for the events. And halfway through the event, we also promote what opportunities we offer outside of just that event, that episodic event. So we'll promote the MCLE opportunity to get connected and get credit. And then we also kind of have a pitch about mentorship means lots of different things to lots of different people. If you're doing it one-off in this way, that's wonderful. If you want to continue the conversation, here are specific things that you can do to continue this conversation outside. And we do, I know it's very silly, but we do give out a door prize, and the door prize for the mentee includes a coffee card, and the door prize for the mentor includes a coffee card, and generally one of Ida's books, because, come on, about mentorship. And really it's to help the mentor grow in their development as being a mentor. And we really encourage for them to meet with folks, take those coffee cards and meet with folks that they've connected, and really continue the conversation outside of that 90-minute event that we offer. And then the other things that we also provide from a state bar perspective is educational resources. So we have developed a mentorship curriculum that augments the self-structured MCLE mentor plan. We have tons of worksheets. It could be anything from a substantive area to professionalism and ethics. And the worksheets all are the same. They have a theme. They have conversation starter questions that you can sit down with your mentee and the mentor. There are laid out activities that you guys can do together. So you're not just kind of sitting and talking, but you can go to a CLE, you can go to a section meeting, you can go to a networking event. And then there's also online resources. So maybe one of them is that you want to read through an article that just was published about ethics and civility, and then discuss it with your mentor. So we have about, I'd say, 24 different worksheets that we've developed. So that's one thing. The other one is we have broadcast episodes. So think about them as short podcasts. They're anywhere from 3 to maybe 15 minutes long. We actually had Ida come in and do some of these recordings with one of our members, and it covers basically anything about how do you mentor through the generational difference? How do you mentor through gender gaps? What happens when my mentor has different values than me? And people can play it on their mobile device. So it's just a quick kind of, when you need the info, you can go grab it. And then we also do consults, and those consults are really with local specialty minority bar associations or sections that are looking at developing an internal mentorship program. And we have a checklist of, what kind of program are you going to be developing? Who's the main audience? What's the narrowed focus of the curriculum? Who's going to staff it and administer it, which is always a fun conversation for them to realize that it takes time and somebody to do it. So that's what our program looks like. All right, so let's start with some of the questions. And maybe I'll go with you, Michelle, first, and then walk over to Marion. What were some of the initial lessons learned when you guys were creating the program?
Okay, so I'm really far removed because our program was one of the first mandatory legal mentoring programs in the nation, and so it was 10 years in the making, right? So it started way before I got there, and there have been 2 directors before me. But one of the things that we did do is that we did it slowly for us, because it's very expansive, and it includes the whole state, and it includes all new lawyers, regardless of the practice setting. And so because of that, we needed to get all of the stakeholders buy-in. So our first director, Doug Ashworth, traveled around the state, just talking to people about what the benefit of the mentoring program. So basically, he traveled around. He started with judges. He talked with the prosecuting counsel, public defender, law firms. He just talked with everyone about how we could build a mentoring program and include people just from different practice settings and for different areas of the state. So for us, in order to have a mentoring program that's functioning and that's being vibrant today, is that we basically took it slow. We didn't rush. We tried to establish a firm foundation. We tried to get all the requisite stakeholders. However, we continue to tweak it annually in order to keep it vibrant and just keep it so that it's relevant. I think sometimes what we find is there's so many things that within a given year that you want to change, that it's really important that you pick 1 or 2 so that you can actually see it through. So if I would have to say, like, one of the lessons that we've been learning and we continue to learn, is that you walk in every year, you get back your metrics and your measures, and people are saying, this could be done better, or that could be done better. And what I encourage everyone to do is kind of sit back and take a look at what has been presented before them, and actually determine what you and the staff that you have can do and what would make the biggest impact for your program. So that's what
What about you, Megan?
So I was there from the beginning of our program. Our program really started in 2014 with a pilot program. I was not the director of the program that year, someone else was, and then it got handed to me when it was time to run the full year of the program. So, of course, I was a little scared because I had been told by numerous people mentorship programs fail in the first 3 years. So I was like, well, great, thanks for handing it over to me now. And so I wanted to make sure that we didn't fail. So one of the things that I struggled with initially was just this idea of balance. Because our program is voluntary, our third-year students, they can do the program. They don't have to do the program. They also don't receive credit for the program, which is something I can talk a little bit more about later. Something that I think I would like to see changed. But it's one of those things where I really want this for them and I want them to do it, but they have to see the value in doing it for it to work for them. So at first, during my first year, I was emailing, I was reaching out to people, and like I said, I was a little overeager. And the students didn't respond well to that. I think the new attorneys did a bit more than the students, but the students in particular were our biggest group, and so I had to tone that down for them after that year, and that was a good lesson for me. I also, one of the things, again, being overzealous, I wanted every pair to be perfect, and I thought I had the answer to do that, which, again, I did not. And you can't, every pair is not going to be perfect, but what I try to tell both the mentors and the mentees now is that there's a lesson to be learned there. You know, maybe you all don't see eye to eye on certain things, whether it's politics or even how you do approach work, but there's a lesson to be learned. You're having trouble scheduling things and getting together. There's a lesson to be learned there in management of time and what you can do. So that was a great thing for me to recognize that it's okay for the program to not be perfect because there's lessons for everyone involved in that process.
Great. So I was at the State Bar when we initially started our program, and I would say some of the lessons learned is it's really challenging and hard to design a program that tries to satisfy 40,000 members. When all of them have different ideas about what mentorship is, and all of them have different ideas about what a program is. And because we're trying to be kind of to some extent all things to all people, that can be pretty challenging. So one of the lessons learned for us is really going back to, well, why are we doing this? What are the goals from a State Bar level? What is it that we're trying to solve with mentorship? And that really allowed us to go back to kind of a root problem cause analysis of, let's look at our membership. What do we know about our membership? Well, we know we have a third of our members who are solo and small firm practitioners. We know that those that are coming out new into the practice of law need X, Y, and Z type of skills training, leadership, professionalism, civility type of onboarding. We know that solos and small firm practitioners from a malpractice perspective are also more likely to fall into issues of malpractice because they don't have support that law firms have. They don't have the support of staffing at a government agency. So really that helped us narrow down our focus, right? And it helped us also recognize that lawyers are not going to be at the same place for 10, 15, 20 years. We evolve, like any other career, all of us evolve into what we, kind of our path, our career path. So we know that members are also going to be going in and out of transitions. And during those times of transitions is when they're going to need the most help trying to figure out where that path leads them. So that really helped us kind of take a step back and really focus on who is it that we're trying to serve and why, and then help us understand what were some of the outcomes that we wanted to start measuring and how we were going to measure those outcomes. All right. So what are some of the current challenges to running your program and how are you solving them? And I'll start with Megan.
Well, mentor recruitment is always a big part of our program. I actively go out and seek mentors for our program, and like I said, we do pair them based on practice area interest or particular work environments. That's what our goal is. And so just in recruiting and getting out there and letting people know about our program, one of the great things is that we're now more so utilizing our professionalism committee in our local bar, and that really is a great group because they're super involved in making sure this program works, and they encourage folks in a way that if I were to reach out to them, they may not respond as well as to having another attorney that they're practicing with, that they're seeing every day, encouraging them to participate in a program like this. And I will say our program is unique in that it's a partnership with our local bar, and that's a really great and special thing, and we've been successful in that. But it also is a challenge for us in that, there's certain interests for a third-year student, and they're slightly different for a new attorney. And the local bar wants to make sure that those new attorneys are getting the mentorship they need, and while we want that as well, we're also we want to make sure our third-year students are receiving the opportunities. So just communicating that, and we have been really open, and we have never really had a huge problem with that. But I think early on in the program, I had to learn how to communicate our needs and make sure that I was understanding what their needs were from their perspective. So just communication, I think, was one of the biggest things we learned early on, and continuing to improve that and work on that.
What about you, Michelle?
Let's see. I would say, even though our program is mandatory, you still want the program to have value, right? So one of the biggest challenges is knowing that we have to get these 12 to 1,400 lawyers a year through the program, make sure that they're actually completing it timely, that they are also getting the most value that they can, and we're presenting that to them. And so I think we'll talk about it a little later in new initiatives that we have started to do. But just keeping the program current. I think with new lawyers, they want it more, they want it fast, they want it on demand, and they don't want you to talk at them. They want more interaction. And so just making sure that we have this beginning lawyers program that we've had. When I started practicing law in 2002, it was called Bridge the Gap program. And so basically, we sat in a hotel for 7 hours, and they talked at us for 7 hours. And so when I got the program, we were still talking at people. And so one of the things I was trying to do was say, okay, it was more geared toward litigators. So I tried to make breakout sessions so that people who didn't want to practice, they could actually take the ex quasi, how non-traditional legal careers could work for you. Or if you were, criminal, immigration. So we tried to break some of those things down with the beginning lawyers program, and they actually had breakout sessions. So that is one challenge that I have. Another challenge that I have is something that you guys both mentioned about being everything to everyone. That's very difficult because when you have limited resources and limited staff, you can't be everything to everyone, although you want to make sure that people actually get that value and that they walk away happy about the program, and it's not just another checklist or a checkbox that they have to complete in order to get to their second year. So in maintaining and being everything to everyone, you also have to find staff who are passionate about what you're doing, because we don't pay that well, right? I mean, and so you get your staff there and you all geared up and you're like, yes, we got to help the new lawyers. And they're like, lady, I am coming to work. I'm getting my $40,000 or so, and I'm going home, And so trying to actually find staff that exudes the same passion that you have is also very difficult, because you have to respect, their perspective and where they're coming from. So it's like balancing all of that as well. And lastly, since my program is so old, we have all of this old technology, and we have an in-house database that basically pulls from our Office of General Counsel, membership, continuing legal education. So it's pulling from all of their different databases to feed the current database. And so I need a new one. It's too many people in there. You know, we get about 12 to 1,400 new lawyers a year. We have about 6,000 mentors in the database. It has all this information. And so sometimes we experience crashing sometimes. So so that's a challenge in getting everyone on board, because when I move forward, not only do I have to bring myself, but because I need their information, trying to come up with a way for me to get their information into a new system that's both interactive, not just for our office, but interactive with the new lawyer.
Great. Question? Yes.
Would it be okay to ask a question?
Yeah.
On fine-tuning and issues and being sure that, you know, your program is enlightening and continues to be of interest. Is there, have you utilized the assistance and advice from other programs, you know, people in your positions where you could, you know, offer to evaluate somebody's program for them, not beat them up, but it's kind of like, you know, in universities, each, you know, discipline has, if they're certified, like business school or something like that, they will have a group of academics from around the country who are sent in to evaluate. Sometimes they're going to jerk the certification. Now, I was wondering if you thought about anything like that, or if there is such a thing. Our program in Texas is a bit different. We learn from all of them. Any thoughts on it? Because, you know, we tend to look at it, and not be able to really figure out, do some innovation.
I don't know of, I talk to other people at different bar associations, but I think that's a very, that may be a very good suggestion, just for us to not only talk, but to actually look at each other's programs, not just to get things from the program to improve ours, but to also put input into, this is what I do for my program. I noticed that you're doing something similar. Because I think that what you're saying is actually better, because instead of it being an isolated question, right, totally just in this context, and you're getting that answer, there's so many things that happen as a result of your response. So I don't know of any, but I think that would be a great direction to go in, so that we can get more comprehensive help and evaluations of our programming.
It would seem to me you wouldn't have to travel. We could
Yeah.
get to know each other and strive for something like better needed convention. But I personally, as somebody who's been involved for years in that position, feel a benefit so much, like just saying, look at this, I got things, I got thick skin.
That might be something, you know, the consortium could look into, because how many of you are part of the consortium? Raise your hand. Okay. I would encourage you guys to sign up, because there is a listserv, and we do pose questions on that listserv, but that might be something worth investigating a little bit more, of the peer-to-peer program review, right? I'm looking into developing a formal structured program. I should connect with Michelle, or our law school is looking at developing a program. I should make sure that you know, my law school contact will contact Megan. I think that could be maybe a good thing to explore. Yeah. All right. What was it? Okay. So current challenges, and I'll be pretty brief about this. So from the MCLE perspective, the Mandatory Continuing Legal Education Board, there's still a lot of folks that don't know they can get credit for mentorship. When we do our events and we have 50 people at our event, we'll ask how many of you guys know you can get credit, and this is how you can do it. We'll have like maybe 1 or 3 hands out of 50 raise their hands. So I think it's educating the 40,000 members what we have and what we're offering. And I think because we're a unified bar, a lot of our members tend to really think of us as the regulation and the discipline, and do not call me outside of that. So from a program, a member benefit, member service, member engagement perspective, that can be, I think, one of the biggest hurdles and one of the biggest challenges. And I'll leave it at that. All right. Next question. What type of program assessment have you done, and what did you learn from that assessment? So I'll start with Michelle this time.
We actually had a new lawyer for running for president for the Young Lawyers Division, and one of his, basically one of the things that he said that he was going to do when he got in office was to get rid of the TILT program. So everyone was like, what? You know, but still, that's what he said he wanted to do, because he just wanted to get rid of the TILT program. So I called him up and I said, hey, I need to talk to you. We need to talk. You trying to get rid of me? You know, like, what is this? And, you know, he said, I use it as a ploy to get votes. But what we found out is, that other lawyers were like, other new lawyers were like, no, we want the TILT program. We don't even know what he's talking about. You know, yes, of course he lost. Yes, he lost. You know, but it really gave us perspective, because you know, you ask people and they're like, yeah, they fill out their forms, but these were new lawyers who actually were like, no, we enjoy the TILT program. And because of that, I started to go on the road to Young Lawyers Division's meetings, and I have focus groups on how we can improve the program. Because you get people and they fill out their survey, they're tired typically at the end of the program. You send them a survey monkey, they're in the middle of work, they fill it out. But I felt like I got the most valuable information from when I went out to them and I talked to them face to face. And I'm like, just look, consider me one of your YLD members and talk to me about what you think we could do to improve the program. And it also, and through that, for the ones that had been practicing for 5 years or more, I was able to get speakers for my events. I also was able to get new mentors for beginning lawyers. So it was a way for me to get information, get the metrics and the measures, and also to promote the program, to spread awareness about the program and the new things that we were doing. I also survey after the programming, but what I found is that the focus groups provide the most insight into the program, and it basically gives young lawyers a voice in improving it. Another thing that we've started to do is a Mentor of the Year award. So there I get information about what people think about the program and their mentors. So it's like giving something and getting it indirectly. I learned that, you know, when I just survey, I don't get all the information I need, but indirectly, if you're saying, okay, tell us why you want to nominate your mentor for the Mentor of the Year award. We get so much information. We get what they're doing. We get, and although we're getting information on what the best, it still gives us insight into our program and what we can do to make it better.
How about you, Megan?
We do a lot of surveying. I mean, really, that's our biggest form of assessment. And I mean, it's pretty simple in that we use SurveyMonkey and follow up, but we ask a lot of in-depth questions. And so from those surveys, we have been able to assess new things or to get ideas for new things, rather. So one of the things that we started doing as a result of these surveys, we started doing these new group activities for all of our mentors and mentees to come to, because they wanted interaction with each other participants in the program. So that was one thing that came out of the surveys. We also get pretty specific feedback on mentors and mentees in this. And so, you know, I really encourage them to do this all along, as opposed to the very end of the program, when at that point it's kind of hard to go to a student and be like, hey, let's talk about your progress in the program. But so I encourage them to give me that feedback as we go through the program. But at the end of the year, it's a great way for me to assess potential mentors, you know, new mentors that could be great in the program, and also some of the mentors that we've had in the program that, for whatever reason, maybe they weren't the best mentor that year. And that allows me to be able to go to them and say, hey, I just wanted to talk to you about your mentorship experience this year. And a lot of times they'll tell me, you know, I really had a busy year and I just wasn't my best self. And so, you know, it allows us to assess whether it's an ongoing problem or if that's going to be something we maybe just, you know, maybe we just need to take them out for a little bit because for whatever reason. We also have, from those assessments, we made changes to our training program. We have a very intense training process for our mentors. I will say I meet with every mentor that we sign up in the program, and I talk to them about the program, and then they also go through a training and an onboard process. For the mentees, that's really just sitting down and doing an orientation. But for the mentors, we do a CLE for them, and that really motivates them to come because they get free CLE. But also we talk about mentorship theory, and really get into some very specific things. So we have made tweaks to that program as a result of our assessments.
And because we're still relatively new, how many people here, I'll just ask a question, how many people here have used logic models or program dashboards? Okay. Oh, okay, great. So one of the things, because we were, as part of our program development, or our program design and evaluation, we used what's called a logic model to really think through, again, what's the goal that we're trying to make, what's the problem that our program's trying to solve, what do we know about the audience that we're trying to serve, and then what are the various types of activities that we're planning on having, and we theorized and analyzed what are the expected outcomes that we want to see in the short term, intermediate, and long term. And then from there, you can think about what are the indicators specific to those outcomes that you want to start measuring. And then how are you going to get that information? So we use a lot of SurveyMonkeys for that. So for example, for our mentor link mixers last year, as our first year doing it, we did a survey at the end of the year that asked folks if they got a mentorship connection from the mixer. And about 45% of them said yes. But then we asked them, what type of connection did you make? And we defined a mentor connection, a coach connection, an ally connection, a peer-to-peer connection, or did you have a connector type of connection, meaning the mentor at my table didn't know about this particular area of law, but they were able to connect me with so-and-so who did. And when people responded to that question, that jumped to like almost a 70% response rate. So that again goes back to people define mentorship differently. So we know people are making these connections, and we know that they're lasting outside of just the event, because this survey went 6 months, 3 to 6 to sometimes even 9 months after they met with their mentor or went to the event. And that was a specific indicator that we were able to think about because it's an outcome that we're measuring. So I see that we're actually at time, a little bit over. The other question, just real quick, we'll probably be answering this in our breakout session, is what are the current initiatives or new initiatives that we're working on? So if you want to know the answer, we can talk about that. And I'd love to hear what initiatives you guys are all working on as well. Thank you.